Hi there, and welcome to a Bonzoleum cymbal comparison video. Now these will be all Paiste. Alright, hang on a second here. Okay, so what I'm putting up here is this. I'm putting here a Paiste 404 ride model, 20 inch. 20 inches, baby, of glory. Woo! Walk like an Egyptian. Oh, sorry. Okay. Here it is, a brown label Paiste 404 ride model. I remember I discovered these babies from my own personal use back in about 92. Look at that. When I was jamming with a buddy of mine, a collaborator, we went to his friend's house to play because his dad had a set of like new rock stars in the basement that he went to Biasco Music up on Belmont here in Chicago. If you're a Chicagoan, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he had a 20, like a cymbal pack before they were cymbal packs, a 20-inch ride 404, a 16-inch crash 404, and then a pair of 14-inch medium hi-hats. And I remember being like, wow, these are great. Now, I had just bought, I'd had Paistes before, but I was on like my third or fourth brand new Paiste. This is just before I started calling Paiste and Brea and asking them about what they had in the vault that was discontinued. But I was like, wow, they sound great. And I had just bought a brand new 18-inch 2002 crash and a 20-inch 2002 crash from Biasco Music in Berwyn. So I was really happy to have those. I'm like, wow, these 404s. And I knew they were the lower line because this is long-winded. The first pair of hi-hats I ever bought brand new was a pair of 505 hi-hats from Guitar Center. That's a long story. But anyway, I knew at the time 505s were like second or third, up, and 404s were below them. Anyhow, so I'm playing them like, especially that 20. Boy, that sounds great as a crash. So I went to Biasco Music. He told me it was at Biasco Music. So I went there, and the funny thing was they had a room full of Zildjians, and the only, they had a couple new Paistes in there, but for whatever reason, and I've seen this happen before at music stores, they had and I'm not kidding, 15 Paiste 404 20-inch ride models on their cymbal tree. It was like somebody had ordered them or whatever by mistake, and they just had them there. They never returned. Now, this is 1992 or 1993. I think 1992. So 404s had been discontinued already for 6 or 7 years, or at least 5 or 6 years. So I went and I started going through with the stick and picking the ones that I thought were the best. Now, obviously, they say with Paiste there's more consistency, which there is. But there's still some variability, right? So I go through and I narrow it down to 3. So I take the 3 cymbals and I go into the guitar room where people are playing the guitar, and I wanted it loud, and I wanted to hear the cymbal just also in the context of frequencies that you'll actually be playing it in. So I nailed it down to 1. I got the 1, and this guy came in from Biasco. He worked there. He was one of the owners. Total dildo master. Came in, he's like, hey, and he gave me a hard time. I mean, to the point where I felt like dropping the cymbal flat down on the floor and pushing past him and walking out the front door. But I really wanted the cymbal. Plus, it was $78. So I bought it anyway, and it was beautiful. So I got home, and I A-B it with my 2002 brand new crash. I'm like, wow, I just paid $220 for this 2002 crash, and the 404 ride is as good, a slightly different character, but as good or better, I felt. I was like, gosh darn it. Anyway, so that's the story. So now we're going to put up here is a green label 505 crash model, a 20-inch crash. Okay, so let's just get to the actual, hit them a couple times before I babble anymore. This 20-inch 505 crash, which is before about 1983. Well, no, this is 1983. Never mind. 1983 505 20-inch crash that weighs in at 1817 grams. 1817. And this 404 ride model from 1985. So this is a slightly heavier one. Remember, as the years went on, they just beefed them up a teeny bit. This is 2,034 grams. The original one that I had was thinner than this, probably maybe 100 grams. Anyway, but this is my master. This is the one I love. This crash, I love it, but I have one that I just prefer. And that's just the way it goes. You have one you prefer, so I'm going to sell the other one to a dude. God love him. I think he's taking this one. It's a great cymbal. It's sitting unused. And a cymbal, I've got to sell some of the stuff. Got to get out of we could film a hoarder episode. But anyway, so here we go. 20-inch ride 404, 1985. 20-inch 505 crash 1983. 2, 1. Two, one. Nice. One more time. So that's they. Those are them. Okay, so we have what did I say, 1817 and 2034, so 200-gram weight differential, ride crash model. Okay, now what I've said before about the weights of cymbals, and I've gotten a lot of crap over the years, not so much anymore because people have realized I'm right, or people like us who've been talking about this are right. All cymbal manufacturers through the 70s into the 80s had to beef up their cymbals for two reasons. One, volume, stuff got louder, rock got heavier, but also two, breakage. That's why more metal in there is less likely to break and return and the whole deal. So, now, from my experience, 404s into 505s into 2002s, all B8 alloy. Generally speaking, they just use less metal in the lower line. Okay, even though they also lathe it and treat it differently and, you know, anneal it or whatever they do. Hammer it differently, although this has some nice hammering on it, this 404. But generally, so if a 20-inch ride in the 404 department would have less metal and be a thinner, lighter cymbal than a 20-inch ride in the 505 and then into the 2002. So it'd be heavier, lighter than that heavier 2002, lighter than that 5. That's the way it works, okay? But also, too, even as we went into the 80s, I noticed that the 404s and the 505s did get a little heavier because we were going from the early 80s, Elvis Costello-y kind of Judas Priest-y kind of stuff, into the lower middle 80s where you started having like headbanger ball-y kind of stuff. Heavierness, okay? All right, so here we go. The Bell of the 404 ride model at 2,034 grams. Ouch. And then the Bell on the 505. Medium. Oh, no, not a medium. I have that one over here, too. Crash, 20-inch. 1983. So in the ride department, so what I should do is, you know, everybody demonstrates cymbals. Everybody, when they want to demonstrate a ride, they always try to do what they think is their best version of the three-stroke, like the... Which I can't do, but I'm working on it anyway. But I won't do that here. I'm going to just do the classic sort of jazz. A little more toward the edge. A little more toward the bell. I love these babies. So, anyway, so that's it. The 404 ride model. We used to call this the poor man's giant beat. I mean, technically, we should have called the 505s the poor man's giant beat, because I know the 505s are the same shape as the original giant beats. Like, they're the same blanks, okay, before you hammer them and lay them. Paiste would probably disagree. They'd say I'm full of shite. Eric Paiste, you know, Eric Paiste and I had a short bromance on the phone. It was terrific, but I fell out of favor with him. What can you do, though? I speak my mind. Good guy, great cymbal company. You know I love him. Anywho, a 404 ride model, 505 crash. Where was I going before I did that? Oh yeah, poor man's giant beat. Well, the reason why I'd say poor man's giant beat and not the 505 would sonically be more the poor man's giant beat, in my opinion. But the 404 is up into, I mean, now they've gotten bid up. Probably because fools like me have been making videos saying how great they are. But also, too, we drummers aren't stupid. We know it sounds good. But you used to be able to find Paiste 404 20-inch rides, because they're the most common 404 around, for like $30, $40 on eBay. I mean, really, you pick them up for nothing. You know what I mean? And I picked up a few over the years. So I was like, I'm going to buy a couple of those. Pick out a good one. In fact, that's where I think I got This Is My Baby. This is the one I have left. It's marvelous. So, yeah, poor man's giant beat. All right? That's what they call it. Now, if you look here, though, the funny thing is, I don't have any 18-inch 404s here, whether a medium or a crash or a ride, if they did indeed make one. So I can't really, right now, from my memory, I don't remember if the 404s used the same blank shape as the original giant beats. I don't think they did, but you never know. So, there we go. So the Ride 404 Ride, 1985, 2,034 grams, 1983 505 20-inch crash, 1817, I think. So now what I'm going to do, it's going to be a longer video. Surprise! What I'm going to do now is put up, okay, so here we go. The Ride 404, I'm now going to substitute or replace the 505 Ride. I'm sorry, 505 20-inch crash with a 505. Now, this is pre-1983. Before about 1983, Paiste, believe it or not, I don't know if it was an accident for 2 years or whatever, there's no serial numbers on a lot of these 505s, especially the early ones. Green label. Okay, I think even with the later black labels too, I can't comment on that now because I've only had a couple black label 505s. But I put this one at about 1981, 82. The original 505s up through the black label into the early green label had much tighter. With 505s, you get like 2002s, you have a real fine lathing first that goes evenly across the cymbal, which is not the same as the giant beat or the Formula 602 Sound Edge or the Morello stuff. It's tight, it's thinner, much thinner. But then they do a secondary lathing. Okay, like 2002 will have the secondary lathing that goes from wider, like sort of like a semi-random, almost like on a record when you see before the, it's like, if that makes any sense. So you might have on 2002 a wider, then a couple mid, then a wider, then a mid, kind of medium. Whereas on the 505s, the secondary lathing is uniform in distance apart. So the earlier 505s had a tighter, much tighter. So this one is, this is very tight. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? See how tight those are? Okay, like about like that. Whereas on the later 505s, hang on, give me a minute here. And this isn't what I say, an 83, okay? So this is when they started to do it. So this one isn't as wide, isn't as narrow as that one, because that one's earlier. But by the time you get to 85, 86, the secondary lathing's pretty uniform wide across. Okay, anywho, let's go back to that cymbal. Ouch. 1964 gram, 505, 20-inch medium. All right, compared with this 404. Here we go. You should notice from there the 505 medium is a little cleaner than this, okay? Classic. So I'm going to tap it a little. Again, so gram weight, 2034 on this 404, 1985 20-inch ride, and 1964 on this 505 medium. Okay, so they're not that far apart in weight. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put on another quick 20-inch medium, 505, which is from, again, this one, probably 81, 82, because there's no serial on it, green label. And this one, 1983, okay? 1983 20-inch medium. Again, you can see the secondary lathing is a little wider than the 1981, 82. This one is 2036, okay? So 2036. This is kind of apples to apples hardcore because they're only 2 grams apart. 2034 and 2036, okay? Paiste 404, 1985. Ride, 20-inch. Paiste 505, 1983. 20-inch medium. Here we go. Bells. All right, so what I'm going to do real fast, I got to hurry this up because I'm running out of time probably. I'm now going to compare the two mediums. 1981-ish 505 medium. Again, 1964 grams. So as we move on to 1983, that medium gets a little heavier. Not enough probably statistically to prove my thesis, but 2036, 1964, about 70 grams heavier. Anyway, the older 1981 20-inch medium 505 green label. The 1983 20-inch green label medium. So both mediums, a couple years apart. Okay, just the bells. You know, let's not kid ourselves. Who gives a shit about the bells? It's the crash we like. All right, so now, what else did I want to do? So I did the 404, crash. Oh, let's do the, real fast, a 505 crash versus medium, okay? Gotta be careful with this guy. 1983 20-inch 505 crash with a 1983 20-inch 505 medium. Here we go, crash first. Medium second. Actually, that doesn't do anything because it all goes into a swirl. So, all right, so that's my video for now. I'm going to do more cymbals. My friend Paiste Bob, God bless his soul, I got to move these because is going to come over with all his old giant beats, or a lot of them, the ones he kept, so we can do an original giant beat comparison. Okay, and show you what I'm talking about weight variability on those original giant beats. We ran out of juice right at the end of the freaking video. Paiste Bob's going to come over. We'll show you the variability on the original 18. Sometimes you find a really thin one. Sometimes you find a heavier one. It didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily a thin or a heavy. It was just a giant beat. Kind of like now, like Zildjian's coming out with the new Avitas and Paiste with the big beat. Like, here, we don't know. It's a 19. We don't know how heavy it is. Whatever. Find the one you like. That kind of thing. Okay. So, more videos on the way. I'm also going to put my reaction, well, maybe I'll put my reaction to the, when I went to the camera and I saw that I had run out of video. Paiste Bob's going to come over, maybe talk about the original variability, weight-wise, of the original giant beats. Thanks for watching my videos. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I appreciate all the fandom. I have a lot of pretty dedicated fans. I think I have like 1,000 really dedicated fans. And if I got $1,000 from every one of those fans, I'd have $1 million. Yeah. Anyway, more videos on the way. Really, thanks for watching my videos.